It's Everything Now, an interactive comedy show on Twitch where you, the viewers, are in control, featuring special guests from all over the Twitch community and the Los Angeles comedy scene. Enter a variety of wild scenarios with colorful characters and help steer the story in whatever direction you want. You can vote in polls to pick dialogue or make choices. You can pay to play sound effects that have in-show ramifications.
Road ends in 100 feet.
What the fuck?
Submit images over Twitter and Discord for us to use. Or just hop in the chat and suggest what you think we should do. It's your show too, friend. Every episode is its own sandbox to play in. There's never a dull moment. Hop on in and experience everything now.
Okay. Is it not? Okay. And music? Oh. And we're in. Hi, friends. How do I sound against the music? Is it too much music? Not enough me? Too much me, not enough music? And you'd rather watch this live stream of Monday music, good mood, coffee time, jazz, and morning bossa nova for working at home, study, and read. Oh, there's no music, which is a good thing for me to do because I'm... that was a test. Gotcha. Audio's up now. Now let me know how that sounds. What? You can do all this, but not a simple clip show. You know, I tried using vMix last night, and I realized that there's just a lot of things vMix is a little too iffy on. I know, but like OBS has been very user-friendly and nice and open for me to try dumb shit like this. Music's chill. There you go. Yeah, I didn't put the desktop audio on, so I wasn't sure. Yeah, last night was a nightmare, huh? At least for me. I was so scared. And then it turned into something very fun and ridiculous. But thanks for joining, everybody. I know you were, don't worry. Yeah, last night was a hoot. For those who don't know, it was just one big technical difficulty that we all just kind of had mental breakdowns through. It was a good time. Yeah, it was interesting. But that was yesterday, and now today is the first episode of what is tentatively titled What's Good? The Everything Now Show Movie Club stream, where people come into the Everything Now Show Movie City rental store and ask, what's good? I'm your host, Rocky. Yeah, I laughed really hard last night, too. I was really losing my mind. Parody and satire show, folks. Always parody and satire. Welcome to the rental store. I just got this up. It's due for some renovations still, but shout outs if you like any of the movies you see on display. I'm thinking about doing a thing where subscribers get to pick what movies go on the wall, kind of like an employee recommendation thing. Hi, Super Pizza. Love you too, buddy. Blockbuster, yes, is better. Much better. Exactly. Yeah, I love Bunch of Crunch as well. I figured it was the ultimate blockbuster snack when I was growing up. How can you do any better? You know, comedy and jokes, parody and satire. That's all we got. Yeah, that Hot Rod and Napoleon Dynamite cover was pretty. That was a magnifique find. I was like, gladly, that is naturally what I'd like to have on the wall for my movie city. But we got Francis Ha, we got Observe and Report, we got Napoleon Dynamite and Hot Rod. A fantastic box set. We're probably going to talk about one of those movies tonight, actually. 28 Days Later, A New Leaf, End of Evangelion, Hausu, American Movie, Blair Witch Project, Speed Racer, Parade, Smiley Face, Crank 2 High Voltage, Ratatouille, and oh my goodness, what is this film called? Shah Rukh Khan movies. That movie is called, pardon me, all my Bollywood fan friends, Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. I'm so sorry. Yes, of course I knew that reference. Masterpieces both. Indeed, Hot Rod is the only Andy Samberg product I like. Interesting. I feel like you might like pop. You would like pop. You should like pop stuff. But also you shouldn't like anything. I want this show to be super open and just for everybody to be able to talk about their favorite movies without any pressure. You know, no gatekeeping or anything like that. I feel like movies are such a bad, film society can be very elitist. And movies are for the people. As complicated as the history might be. You know? So I wanted to make sure that this was a thing that everyone can kind of get to enjoy and to talk about and feel like they're heard. Because movies it's a connecting art form, you know? We get to see ourselves on screen. We kind of influence our own dreams because of how we make and view movies. You know what I'm saying? I'm drinking coffee. This is going to be a nightmare. I am elitist trash when it comes to life. I love The Waterboy. I am fond of Adam Sandler pretty much up until, like, I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry, maybe. But, like, The Waterboy, Little Nicky, I was on board. Buckle my freaking seatbelt. Take me where you need to go, Mr. Sandler. Little Nicky has the legendary Quentin Tarantino cameo as well. Is that Korea? Where is that? Yeah, I think this is Korea. We're in Koreatown, of whatever town Everything Now show takes place in. I'm trying to connect the universe, you know? We have our own Springfield, our own Pawnee, Indiana. You lost me at Mr. Deeds? Yeah, you know, I think I was just the right age when Mr. Deeds came out where I was like, this seems reasonable and rational. I rewatched Mr. Deeds recently, and boy, that movie is a teensy bit psychotic, but also, like, weirdly sweet and classical. Mitch is right. Little Nicky soundtrack has got bangers and all the new metal you can ask for. Jack and Jill is cancer. I watched Jack and Jill about 3 times on a cruise ship when I had food poisoning, and the only movies that were playing on the movie channel were War Horse, Steven Spielberg's War Horse, and Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill. And I vaguely remember Jill breakdancing at the park with a Mexican family and thought, that's interesting. But Dunkachino is undeniable. An undeniable classic. Camera's great there. Yeah, who knew Adam Sandler loved Deftones? Yeah, it was a nightmare, Jones. I do not miss that in the slightest. But today on What's Good, the Everything Now show, movie, talk show, podcast, stream thing. I didn't hit record. Shame. Start now just for posterity. There we go. I remember to do that. Hi, Kevin. Welcome, friend. Hubie's good? Heard Hubie's good. We'll watch it eventually. I'm sure a guest of mine is going to make us talk about Adam Sandler at some point, and I'll gladly oblige because he's in one of my favorite movies, Punch Drunk Love. But today, on today's first episode of What's Good, we are going to be talking with the person operating this legendary comedy blog since the early 2010s, probably even before then, honestly, called Courting Comedy. They also produce a very fun comedy gaming stream on Twitch and in person, pre-COVID, obviously, called Super Trash Bros. I'm going to get my guest in here today. Tonight we're talking about high school movies. Movies not only taking place in high school, but movies that we watched in high school and that were kind of formative to us in the experience as a whole. So I'm going to call him in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our good guest, OJ Patterson. Let's see if he's going to get here in a second. Might have just timed in perfectly. OJ, let's gonna pop out. Skaboom. Oh, so close. Just gonna, we were just right there. Oh, yep. And then, so he's gonna go in the middle. Live OBS editing, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi.
Hey, friend. How's it going?
I'm good.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I'm getting you fit into this box here just to make sure you look nice on the screen. But,
nice.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. This is OJ Patterson. Thanks for coming on the show, friend. We're talking about high school movies today. That was a very interesting prompt you gave me. It was a very broad spectrum I gave you when I presented the show to you. But what made you think about high school movies when I asked you?
I've just been in my house too long.
Sure.
And it's starting to feel like I'm on punishment. Like got caught doing something I wasn't supposed to.
Just 8-month-long detention.
Yeah. And then I thought, oh, what was the last time I felt like I didn't have any semblance of a control over my life?
Yep. Naturally.
And also, what were some classic, to me, movies about high school or set in high school? While I was in high school, I graduated in 2006. So yeah, just a little nostalgia.
There you go. So yeah, we have a very interesting like timeline here because I am a baby, unfortunately. I graduated in 2012, so we got the whole 20s basically of time to discuss. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry I have to reveal that on stream. I am such a baby.
My world is crumbling.
I moved to San Francisco in 2012, hoping to do stand-up comedy and trying to and whatnot. I was on Tumblr like everyone else was. We're all obsessed with Parks and Recreation and canceled comedians and many other things. Hearts full of hope. But your blog was a very big kind of like beacon for me, at the time. And I was appreciative to find you and your work at that time. So yeah, I mean, I even though I am quite the young child, I feel like we have a lot to talk about as far as these past 2 decades go worth of movies about high school. Yeah. We'll get started soon, actually, just to kind of go through the movies you gave us here. But let's go through the chat. Watching Graham after reading in high school the scene where Brad Pitt gets blank and said, "Oh, movies can do this." Yeah, so high school is like the time where you kind of realize the full potential of movies and probably where your interest goes, like very, very, very directly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a very influential, perfect time for your brain to be kind of molded by shit you see on a huge screen. It's also the perfect time to be going to the movies with friends. It's just like the ultimate, like, it's kind of like a social instance. Like if it was like a video game level or something where it's like, okay, now I'm like surrounded by all my buddies, people I hate from school maybe. But I would also go to the movies by myself a lot. I'd walk to the movies. I'd watch stuff like in the morning during matinees just because like I was a little movie kid. I wanted to review movies and had a blog and all that fun stuff too. So
is there one that's like in hindsight like would have been a better DVD rental?
Like movies that I went to see at the theater, like just like
that you just slept to a theater to watch something.
Oh my god. Yeah, plenty. During that time, one movie I came to find recently was there was a terrible Sleeping Beauty remake called Mirror Mirror. And I saw that shit in theaters, and I just remember like vividly being on my phone during it, being just like, "Why the fuck did I come to this?"
I remember I had to take 2 buses and a train to see The Baxter. No disparaging.
Yes, of course.
Michael Showalter, but I did not need to spend upwards to $10 in public transportation fare to see that movie.
No, that's a classic, like, watch, like, I think I like that movie a little bit more than you do, but definitely don't need to spend too much physical effort to go get to the theater for that one. My one contingency would be, like, except for if I'm watching with my mom. And that's kind of like the perfect mom movie in a weird way. His movies are really mom movies, like Hello, My Name is Doris and shit like that.
He has a real mom sensibility.
100%. Yeah. Do you watch Search Party?
I do watch Search Party.
Yeah, I know he's not like the key creative there, but it was interesting watching that show and seeing how fucking dark it is.
You could feel it.
Yeah,
you could definitely feel it.
Definitely. And also, I guess like the modern mom these days is into like murder podcasts and real crime and shit.
Yeah.
As if it's a casual thing that we can all enjoy and not like deeply rooted in some dark shit in our society. I saw this ad on Facebook that was for like the new fun puzzle game that immerses you in a murder mystery. And it's like a mom drinking wine with holding her little dog, and it's like we provide you with like photographic evidence and documents and like blood-stained fabrics and shit, and you have to solve the murder. I'm like, this is a psychotic way to spend an evening.
Yeah, it's a far road from Candy Crush. I'll say that.
I pine for the days where I could simply play cell phone games with my mom, and it was all simple.
Yeah,
it got
a lot less unwanted horror in like a Yahtzee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Before we get into the movie, we're going to start with some things here. Deathcraft for great personality. Love the username. Stanley Tucci and Patricia Clarkson's parents. Easy A fucks. Indeed, Easy A was a pretty solid, in my opinion. People love that movie. It's a very strong entry in the high school genre from the 2010s. I think it was 2010 when it came out. Donnie Darko, another really big high school movie. I have a playlist of trailers that are all high school films that are just going to play as we're talking too, so we can just kind of they'll pop up and they can just kind of chat about them as they come along. Someone asked me a question: what movie was the first one for you that moved you so much that you sat through the credits and thought about it? Do you remember? It's a good question. OJ, that question is for you as well. I remember the first movies that I got really, really moved by past them being just really funny to me. Like I loved Edgar Wright movies in middle school. Like those are the ones that were like, this is thank you, really crazy.
You will never.
Thank you, Lil Uzi Nate. Pat the movie. Yeah, I'll get a copy of Pat the movie to you momentarily. I think I got that here somewhere. That'll be in the box at the end of the counter. But Wes Anderson movies were kind of like my and many other people's entries into movies that melt your heart and make you think about art in movies and whatnot. Like The Life Aquatic, I think was the first one where I was like, "The fuck is going on? I didn't know this was possible." Kind of thing. Yeah.
Have you ever had that situation where you're too shook by a movie to I have a niece and she's she's 18 now, and we thought it would be important or reasonable for her to watch Midsommar, which no, it wasn't perfectly reasonable for her to watch this. Just shaking, but didn't want you don't want to say, "Oh, I'm scared," or that disturbed me. So you're just kind of that was a weird movie.
Yeah, that was real strange, wasn't it? I feel like there's some truth to the idea that kids want to be scared by movies, but also, I think that movie is pretty aggressive. Even though your niece is probably is the age of the characters in that movie, basically, if not a little younger. But that director's pretty fucked up. I think we can say the least. Have you seen the short film, The Strange Thing About the Johnsons? Don't. It's one of the most fucked up things I've ever seen. Hi friends, hi Link79R. Everybody is just joining us. This is OJ Patterson, my special guest here today from Courting Comedy and Super Trash Bros, also on Twitch. We're talking about high school movies, and the first movie that OJ brought to me is one that I am pretty much in lockstep with. It is the 2005 film by Rian Johnson, who would eventually move on to make Star Wars and some other crazy shit. Knives Out, it's an undeniable, really fun movie. But his first movie we're talking about today is, where is it? Brick, 2005. This is a pretty big, film bro movie, which I mean with no malice because I'm a film bro myself a little bit. But it was kind of there's so many tricks up this movie's sleeves, stylistically, that when you watch it, you're just kind of like being shook by the shoulders, and your face is being put to the screen of what are they saying? What's the camera doing here? Kind of shit. Yeah. It's good stuff. What was your experience like watching Brick for the first time, if you can recall?
It came out 2005.
Yeah.
And I was a junior in high school, and
Sure.
I think I had to go another situation where I take multiple forms of public transportation to make it to the art house cinema. But I think it was one of the first times when when you started watching all of the trailers on the Apple Trailers website.
Yeah.
And before YouTube, you just quick time all these trailers for movies you'd probably never see.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just I don't know. There was something. There was something. It was pretentious, but it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean by film bro. It's just kind of like it's playing with all the toys of like just super populist, like I guess artsy cinema a little bit, but it's just having so much fun with it. Even though it is, it's also kind of dour. It's like a dense, heavy movie. It's quiet. The dialogue is near incomprehensible if you're not really like paying attention. I just started watching it for the first time being like, I don't know what the fuck anyone's saying in this thing.
I remember watching it and being like, why doesn't anybody at my school talk like this? Because I was just like, I was the constant weirdo who was just like, you know what I should do? I should start doing sound effects just to like really enhance my personality.
Yes, I'd love to be the side character in a noir with a quick thing or whatever, you know? Yeah, something special about them.
Yeah, and I remember so vividly being like I don't know, like I it was just like, oh, like this is like a movie, but it's like they're my age, but it's also like, what why? I like the idea of just like taking apart high school and being like, who you're sitting with matters, because at the end of the day it doesn't. I don't really know anybody who I sat with, but the idea of that being like your place in the city, or your place in like a gangland crime area.
It's politics, you know, like it really like just turns the dynamics of high school into a political game, like a noir, you know, where it's like it matters, like, you know, like the popular kids like have their own clique and like their own like routines and stuff that you kind of have to figure out and like kind of get an insight to and stuff. It's also hysterical. It's a funny ass movie. The things I remember from this movie the most are the laugh parts, like him being caught by his principal and having to tell him like, please let me do this noir shit, man. Like you gotta just let me do it. And he's like, all right, as long as you do your homework or whatever. The dude standing in front of the train, like the mom of like one of the mysterious kids being just like, you want apple juice and stuff like that, while they're like talking about murder and talking about crime and shit. Like it is. Go ahead.
I was just a big fan of that football player. It's not like any football player in a high school movie I've ever seen.
No.
Where he's literally just like shit talking the coach the whole time. He's just like, if you would have let me play, we would have won. Don't be coming to me, when we don't win.
The most aggressive, like he's nothing but anger and rage, basically, to a funny degree.
It was like any given Sunday for like 4 or 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah, exactly. He comes into the frame and just like chairs are being thrown and he's screaming at everybody. And I also, this movie caught my heart because it takes place in Southern California, which is where I'm from. So like it's you know, again, it's a noir, but it takes place in these like nice open air, sunny high schools and these like shopping centers and just like these like huge like McMansion neighborhoods and stuff. Like it's just a bizarre setting, like clashing against its premise essentially. It's a really novel little movie. I can't think of any other movie that went as hard as it did on this kind of premise. Because it has such like a chip on its shoulder kind of energy to it.
Yeah. Well, it's also not playing with, I mean, it is playing with like class warfare, John Hughes films type stuff, but it's from the perspective of just like, and somebody could die from this. You know?
Exactly. It's like The Breakfast Club if like a gun was introduced in the first half of the movie.
Yeah. Ali Sheedy just takes out Michael C. Hall.
Exactly.
Turns into a different movie.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit! There's like a dead body in the library for an hour. I'd watch. I'd
watch.
Yeah,
you could do all the same bits. He's wearing glasses.
Yeah, he's basically the brain character, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through the chat here. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, lead of this movie, just like post Third Rock from the Sun when he's doing his like, I'm gonna be in every Sundance movie And
I'm gonna be in mysterious skin.
yeah, exactly, right? He's gonna be like, I'm gonna be kind of like edgy all of a sudden. Like he kind of doesn't go as far as Shia LaBeouf did, but he kind of was doing the same thing at his age, I guess, where he's like, I'm gonna be challenging my child acting career basically by doing hard shit.
Yeah.
JGL in that movie really feels like on the verge of death the whole time. Yeah, that's kind of a funny point. Like his performance, he gets his ass kicked a lot. It is a noir ass character where he's just kind of getting like thrown around, run over by cars, I think, like pistol whipped and stuff.
There's that excellent chase sequence too.
Yeah, this movie's got set pieces, and Rian Johnson is, would go on to be like, lauded for that shit in his later movies. Are you a fan of his other movies too?
I will defend The Last Jedi to my dying breath. If I can find someone who doesn't like that movie, I'm setting aside 3 hours and we're going to fight. You
gotta defend it. I respect it. I do too. I like that movie a lot as well. And whenever conversations about it come up again, it's like, oh my god, people have such strong feelings about this movie. Either way, it was so divisive. What the hell?
But in his other movies, Brothers Bloom and Looper, they're just good, and especially Knives Out, they're just good genre films that when you're you just need something on, it's good. And if you want to like go deep dive film bro, like watch a bunch of YouTube, there's this hidden scenes and hidden meanings of like they have that element too. They're pretty good popcorn flicks, and ultimately they're also just like made for what you call it, like Alamo Drafthouse at the beginning, where they're just like, here's all the references you could have gotten.
Pretty much, yeah. You watch them like pre-screening kind of stuff. Yeah, I do miss that shit, especially from art house theaters. Also, especially in the Bay Area. Like, my God, I don't know if you knew this. I worked at the Embarcadero landmark for a summer, and that was a special time. Like that summer, fucking Nymphomaniac came out. And and all the employees are just yelling at each other about Lars von Trier, and being like, he's a Zionist, he's a fucking Nazi. Like, no, it was crazy. It was weird shit. But it was it was a wild time. I loved working at that theater, and there was just so many options in San Francisco. Like you can see fucking Gravity at the Metreon, or you can see like the quietest little indie film from Japan. It like fucking Van Ness and stuff like that. I do love that scene. I'm in LA, but I mean this shit's all closed down anyway. So
yeah. Well, I think any great city has those pivotal theater experiences at the Roxy or at the Castro's. It's hard to beat.
Yeah, Castro. Yeah, I saw Boyhood there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw A Hard Day's Night.
Oh, that'd be so fun to see.
It's like, oh, great, Beatles song.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, here's another one. All right. They just keep going, don't they? A couple things in the chat. Nathan Johnson, longtime collaborator. Oh yeah, wait. Also, isn't it Ryan's brother?
Cousin.
Yeah, or cousin or something like that. Yeah. Longtime collaborator and relative of Rian Johnson's. Mitch shouting out in the chat, using filing cabinet drawers as percussion. That's some John Bryan and Punch Drunk Love shit. Let's see, what else? Jones shouting out Emily DeRaven, I believe, who played Claire on Lost. Lost heads out there playing the damsel in distress, the kind of like what do you call it in noir movies, like the
femme fatale?
Femme fatale,
or that's the other one.
I think that's what I was thinking of, but there might be another one too, like a Vixen or a Black Widow or something like that. But she was
that's the other one. I think.
Exactly.
I was a big fan of Megan Good of Beloved fame,
sure,
and in numerous other Roll Bounce, I believe.
Yeah.
And I've never seen, and maybe it's like, grow up. You don't have to see someone talking weird to say that they're a good actor or whatever. She was probably, just as good in Cousin Skeeter, but just to see her dominate the theater, who, I don't know if you were a theater kid, those kids were intimidating to me.
Yeah.
They seemed very nice, but also very insular. I didn't understand the back rubs at all, and I was glad to be given an impression that I was correct in my lack of trust of theater kids by the movie Brick.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. I do agree. I want to shout her out for sure. She, like that shot right there, she really does have an amazing presence in the film. Rian Johnson gives her a chance to really like monologue and have a lot of power over. I think Brendan is the main character's name.
Yeah, the way she says ultimatums is probably my all-time pronunciation of the word.
Yeah, sometimes it helps saying like crazy words in a crazy way to show that you're a great actor. But I do love that you shouted out Cousin Skeeter. Holy shit, I forgot about Cousin Skeeter. There is a Tumblr post that kills me to this day, which is that Cousin Skeeter was canceled because they got slime in the puppet and they couldn't get it out.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, she's fantastic in this. Lucas Haas, I think, plays the brainy guy, or I think it's a different actor, maybe. I forget. I think I thought of when we were talking about this. This feels like Rian Johnson's movies feel like in the same class of like a Christopher Nolan, but with a little more like tang and playfulness. While Christopher Nolan is all suits and guns and the color gray and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
another balding protagonist. What are you trying to say, Chris?
Wait, how did your wife die this time, you know? But Rian Johnson, like, he has a screwball energy to his movies. Like, even in this trailer, a lot of the pics that they use for the trailer have his kind of weird, like, prickly sense of humor in them. And I kind of agree. Goddamn, yeah, there goes making good again. Yeah, man, great movie. I haven't seen it in so long. I'm sure I'd like it a little bit more now because I probably have a better attention span than I did back in the day. But that was definitely one of those movies I was like, I'm definitely buying this on DVD and like having it and showing to people because it's just like it's so cool.
Yeah, I do miss that aspect. Maybe not so much quarantine issue, but just like not necessarily seeing a bunch of people all the time. But there are certain movies that become like your litmus test that like if that person can enjoy that movie in the same way that you can enjoy it, you're just like, all right, we're going to watch movies for the rest of our lives.
Exactly. Like, oh yeah, you're totally a movie buddy now. One of those movies I think is the last one we're going to talk about in your list. But the next one we're going to talk about was a pretty major one for I think our whole generation, honestly. It is the 2007 Greg Mottola directed film Superbad, starring Michael Cera, Jonah Hill, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Seth Rogen, Bill Hader, Emma Stone. Who else is
Keep going. You got it.
Joe Latriglio, Kevin Corrigan, Ben Best and Jodie Hill are in the movie at some point. Yeah, like everybody. This movie was fucking huge. This movie's fucking huge. It's Superbad, man. This was like a crazy run for Apatow too, because it was Knocked Up, Superbad, and Pineapple Express, and Forgetting Sarah Marshall all came out within the same 2-year span. Yeah. And I saw Forgetting Sarah Marshall in theaters, saw Pineapple Express in theaters, and I remember going to see Superbad in theaters, and like literally, the theater wasn't that big, obviously, but like I was sitting in like the aisle because there were so many fucking people there. Like it was just like kind of a perfect confluence of a teen sex comedy with like these actors that we're all seeing more of, like Michael Cera from Arrested Development, Jonah Hill was in Knocked Up, and you know all these other movies as well. Like he's just becoming a more known face. Yeah, I don't know. It was just like some.
Thank you. You will never.
Thank you, Motion
escape.
Design, for the 14 months. Jesus Christ, it's been so long. Thank you so much, friend. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the show. We're talking about high school movies. This is my guest, OJ Patterson. We're talking about Superbad right now. Yeah, I remember distinctly the night I saw this movie in theaters and how packed it was, and how it was kind of the ultimate watching a comedy with an audience experience. Like it's kind of a dragon that everyone chases. But you know, when it's at its best, it's like it's religious. You know, to watch a movie that really hits everybody in a room together at the same time as hard as possible. Yeah,
I don't remember like the first time I watched it, but I remember this one specifically because like I had come home for the summer or maybe the winter, like right out of college. And I remember like a friend that I knew wasn't a comedy fan. Like he wasn't like, oh my God, the writing on Undeclared is just phenomenal. Like he's not on that level.
No.
But like for some reason he was talking about Superbad, so I was just like, oh, this is hitting a group of people that are outside of the special theme forums that I'm on.
Yeah, it's not just the fans of like Undeclared and Freaks and Geeks and shit who would know that Judd Apatow was in like fucking Heavyweights and like produced Cable Guy and shit like that.
Yeah.
Oh shit, we're gonna go back one movie. I'll loop this trailer, but yeah, it did have a mainstream appeal to it. It was a huge success as far as I know. But yeah, I mean, like I think Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg wrote this when they were 13, and then like just shaped it up just a little bit before they made it again. And yeah, it's just an ultimate movie about graduation anxiety, especially if you have like, you know, if you're lucky enough to have like your best friend in high school, and like, you know, it's like now we're all going to college and stuff. It's kind of like being pulled from a womb, you know, and I think a lot of people can relate to that sensation. And also, I think it's a testament to, it's a crass movie, but it's a very sweet film about male friendships. And it's, you know, probably not as ahead of its time as I'm giving it credit for, because it still might have some of that like kind of like, you know, back off, we're not gay kind of thing. But but the movie ends with them like, you know, like there's a sweetness to their sleepover. There's a sweetness to like, you know, that's just how it was when you had a best friend back then. And I think it captures that very, very well. I think it's why it's why it maintains like a decade and a half later, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, there's also the element of just like, I don't know if like memification became a thing in movies as a thing, but like you could tell they were trying to like make so many things work as like a cultural reference point, and they really succeeded. Like
I don't even
McLovin is eternal.
McLovin is like in the cultural vernacular and lexicon. It's like, you know, when you think of fake IDs, like it's almost as relevant as like Rocky was, you know, in movie pop culture lexicon stuff, or like, you know, like I guess Star Wars. I don't know, but yeah, now it's like it's just so legendary at this point. It's so bizarre. It stuck around. It's such a stupid joke, but like the argument in the movie around McLovin is so funny and like practical, where they're like having genuine arguments about like what a dumb name it is and how they can try and make it work and shit. Like the movie just takes it all seriously enough that it's like actually good and not just like, you know, funny in like a throwaway kind of way. It's so well written. Yeah, it's got jokes. Every fucking comedy the past couple of years has just been like so tossed off, and like we can just riff this and we can just make it awkward sounding and everything like that. But like this movie has like tight comedic dialogue. It has like a rat-a-tat energy to it a little bit, even though it's like filled with like fuck and dick and cum and shit like that.
Yeah. Well, they also, I think I wonder if it's a product of them writing it at the time, but there's just so much, you only are with people in school for like 12 years max. Yeah. But for that time, that's your world. So when he tells like Dave Franco that like no one ever forgets about him peeing the bed or something like that.
That was like third grade, asshole.
Like that's like, yeah, I knew so much gossip about this like tight group of 100 people that I went to school with. It's nuts to think about how much time it invested in knowing those people and knowing those stories.
Yeah, one of the funniest things about reminiscing about high school, for anybody, like even if it's a friend I only knew since college, I'll gladly listen to them talk about someone from high school because they'll call them by their full name. Like this movie's example of that is like he didn't get to sit alone eating a pudding cup like fucking Steven Glansberg, and they cut to this poor kid sitting there by himself, not looking really sad or anything, but he's just like he's staring off into nothing, eating a pudding cup. Yeah. And that's just, like, you know, same shit. Everyone has those full names that they remember, and like these specific things. Yeah, it's such a crucial part of your societal development, and this movie kind of like hones in on that a little bit, like all like the way that they communicate with friends through, like, I think in this movie in particular, like how cell phones are being used. It is very modern for the time, you know, like not so much text messaging, but it is like, you know, like phone tag, bad signal, that kind of stuff. It's such an interesting portrayal of high school that does persist in a way. What is the chat saying? Kanye loves McLovin. That is for sure. Rap in general loves McLovin. That is fact. It's a 25-year-old Hawaiian organ donor. Just really good details all around, and a lot of like crazy set pieces, like the period blood on the leg. That was you know, like the movie does not let up, and also it really maintains its emotional stakes of like they have to get to the party, they have to get the booze. It is very, I guess Star Wars is like not too bad of comparable, because like their mission is so clear and so rooted in their sanity that you are like in their shoes. You are just kind of like, I hope they make it to the party, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's perfect in that like them getting to the party is like so much shit had gone down, but like they ran from the cops, they got hit by a car. Yeah. Like it would be almost malfeasance for them not to get to the party, and then like other things develop from the party. But It's just such a odyssey in a way, especially when you think about like how easy it is to get alcohol.
Yeah, it's like the most like simple premise like gets complicated further and further and further, and then you're at this really weird party with this dude who everyone hates and gets the shit kicked out of him. It's a really good unraveling. It's a great example of like plot mechanics, honestly, like in a movie that is like organic and feels like, you know, I don't know how much of it's rooted in character necessarily, but like it is just like a good example of happenstance being so crazy and just like letting a plot get weirder and weirder as it goes. But,
there's something about it too, in that I think it was like the height of DVD commentaries as well.
Oh like, my god, this commentary. Holy shit.
The fact that like Jonah Hill and Judd Apatow could still make movies after having an argument.
Yeah, for those who don't
for an hour.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the commentary of this movie on the DVD is very fascinating because it has like all the cast of the movie plus Judd Apatow's daughter Maud, who at the time was underage. So at certain points, Judd Apatow had to cover her eyes and ears because there's like, you know, drawings of dicks and stuff in this movie. And Jonah Hill kept on cursing in the sound booth, and him and Judd Apatow would just yell at each other. Yeah, like, it's so uncomfortable.
Well, he's like, because like one half of the class is in LA and the other half is in New York, and Jonah Hill and Judd Apatow were in New York. Mm-hmm. So it was just like you could hear both sides of just like, I don't want my kid to hear you like cursing while I also like take away her headphones. Yeah. But also he's just like, hey, I cursed through the whole fucking movie. I can't curse on the commentary.
Why would you bring your 13-year-old daughter to this shit if you really didn't want her to hear this? You knew it was going to happen. And also
she wasn't even 13. She was like 7.
She was like young. Yeah. I also love that the folks in New York are also making fun of Jonah by cursing more, to be like, we can curse as much as we want because she's not going to hear this shit.
He leaves. Judd and his daughter leaves the commentary.
Dude, DVD commentaries are definitely a lost and probably undiscovered art form, except for people like us who were really into like comedy nerd shit.
I had a rip of it. I had like,
oh my god, I got exactly the shit I would do.
I got like Audacity or something and just like played audio hijack or something.
Yeah.
If I look on Last FM, I probably listen to that commentary at least like 50, 100 times.
Oh, that's such a 2000s thing to say. I love that. It's so true, though. I wanted to rip commentaries as well because I would like fall asleep watching and listening to commentaries because they were precursors to podcasts, essentially.
Yeah,
in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would listen to anything that this crew would do, like any related. Like, yeah, Tropic Thunders is wild too. The Adam McKay's were really good up until Anchorman. Until the other guys, because they all had improv bits in them.
Yeah.
So like Anchorman is like them playing with how many times they can curse in their commentary. Plus they also got Lou Rawls to be part of it, which is really fucking crazy. They get in a fight with
40 version one.
40 version one. Yeah, I don't think I actually heard that one. For some reason the 40 version skipped over me, but then I got on with Knocked Up through the rest of them.
Romany Malco accidentally like confesses to being statutory raped as a kid. It was a very wild commentary.
Oh my god. Jesus, Romney, I'm so sorry. Holy shit. That guy's fantastic. I love seeing him and shit. Yeah, the Step Brothers one's all musical, scored by John Bryan. Talladega Nights is my favorite because I want to do this shit where basically the director and the producer are just riffing about how hard it was to make the movie, but they're saying fake shit of like, yeah, we had to buy an island to build the racetrack, and I had to fist fight the natives on the island, and I had to prove that I was king. Like the stupidest stuff. Like I want to do that shit so bad. This stuff is so funny to me. Oh, Mitch is pointing out something here. Another great DVD Easter egg kind of thing. There's a featurette on Knocked Up where Bennett Miller, who directs Moneyball and Capote, it's like a fake behind the scenes thing where he's like coaching Judd Apatow on how to direct. And then there's they have a scene where they get into a fist fight, and it has Bennett Miller bashing Apatow onto the hood of a car. And the crew is just moving on around them as though nothing is happening. It's a good clip. Some good stuff. Also, Lemon Dicky, I'm glad you're enjoying the show. It's just kind of what I wanted it to be. Bill and Seth Rogen are fantastic in this too. Getting it back to the movie, the whole McLovin subplot with the cops is, we were certainly a little more like, cogent to having cops be lovable, at this point in time. I'm watching The Wire right now, and I'm just kind of like grappling with it as far as like current, the current temperature and everything like that. But it's an absurd bit. It's a funny idea that cops would also get really insane and want to be teenagers again, so they hang out with like the biggest loser possible who's pretending to be a cool guy. Yeah,
I think, but I mean, cops, the temperatures on cops aside,
sure,
it's still hot. I mean, I think of all the tropes of like older person who thinks that they're cool and they try to hang out with the teenagers in the film, like I'd take it over the Breakfast Club principle. I'd take it over some of the characters in what was it, Booksmart. I'd take it over a number of like why are we being bogged down by like these ghosts? Basically, I want to hang out with these teens.
Yeah.
Why are we having to deal with like the repercussions of growing up?
Totally. It's like they're probably having more of a maturity crisis than the kids in the movie are, like, and they're handling it in a much more childish way.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's a testament to how good of an actor Bill Hader is. And I'm a big fan of Seth Rogen, but like, they start to lose their minds a little bit by the end of the movie, where they're like, they're emotionally betrayed by McLovin. Like he's like having an emotional breakdown in the bedroom when he's like, "You abandoned us." Props to them. And also, Bill Hader would move on. Like, he was such a like, what do you even like call it, like a mercenary at the time for comedies. And like it was kind of thankless too, I would say, until this movie, where like maybe in like Knocked Up he'd be like the co-worker or something like that,
the editor.
Exactly, right, yeah. And in this one it's like, who the fuck is this tall nerd?
Well, it's also just like I don't know. There's something about Bill Hader where it doesn't feel like he throws his weight around. Like if I was in SNL and like Hot Rod and worked for South Park and did all these Apatow movies and did Barry, I would probably be a lot less accessible. But he's just as like reasonably expected to like, you know, watch Oklahoma City Thunder game and be really into it. So it's
Totally.
Kudos to him.
He's a very fascinating, I guess movie star and celebrity, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, like creating Barry is just something that you gotta give him props for. It's so scary that he can put something so sad, and impressively hilarious at the same time too. Like I watched season 2 of that show recently. And I just am in love with anything that can make me feel deeply depressed and also laugh as hard as that show does at the same time. It's just impressive.
And just how scary. Like, the irony of all those, like, oh, wow, look at, like, oh, such a gritty, look at Tony Soprano, oh, Walter White is like, I was never scared of those guys. Not in a real way.
Sure,
like, they did some horrible stuff, but they usually killed bad guys. I don't know where this, like, oh, look at these violent, dark men was a talking point. But Barry, just the way he screams, like, why did you tell me that? No spoilers for if you haven't seen Barry, but like, you understand not just that he's done something bad, but he's so capable of doing something bad at all times. It's so scary.
Every fucking action in that show has gravity to it, and you just like the show lingers long enough in every action that's taken that you feel it more, like as much as Barry is, and he bothers to put the pain through that character and everything too. It is heavy. It's a very impressive comedy, and I'm so like it's probably. I'm trying to think of what else is came out comedy wise this past decade. Like Mitch brought up The Beach Bum earlier, and I loved The Beach Bum. That's a great movie to watch in theaters, and that was a very funny comedy. But like otherwise, this like whole class of I don't know. And also comedy got depressing, and it was a mixed bag. When it works really well. When it doesn't, it is a pathetic attempt at trying to do something meaningful. Like it just feels like this like terrible, like I don't know. That's a whole conversation too. But anyway, what else? Any last words on Superbad? Also, I want to talk to some stuff in the comments here. I did not see The King of Staten Island, but I was not opposed to seeing it. I like the idea of Bill Burr as a dramatic actor. I don't know. I liked Funny People, and it looked like the most like Funny People than any of the other Apatow movies. What else is here? Mitch saying that Andrew Bajowski would have made Superbad. That would have been amazing. Lemon Dickey, you also like Andrew Bajowski. That's really good. We'll probably do an episode on him in the near future because I fucking love his movies. My personal favorite is Results. That movie kicks ass. Funny Ha Ha's a beautiful movie as well. OJ, any other last thoughts on Superbad here before I move on to your next movie?
I would say that in a strange way, it can both be understood and extrapolated more if you watch Booksmart for a number of reasons. But I think there's such an element of like teen movies being a conversation about the teen movies that came before it, so that like Superbad is like dunking on Clueless, not in the terms of like, they're both great movies, but just like, oh yeah, those rich kids, teenage rich kids, those guys are assholes. And not in a way that you can root for any of them, but just like writ large, you know, most of the people that you're seeing, latchkey is like an understatement. Like everyone here should be at home. In Superbad. And then the same thing with Booksmart. There is an element about Superbad where it's just like, I don't think they'll not be friends anymore. Like I don't think what happened on that night would break apart their friendship, but there's a real tension of that in Booksmart that I'm just like, ugh, like That was close. That could have gone bad for their relationship.
I missed Booksmart. I've heard mixed things on it.
It's so
but
good. I had the exact same. I had the exact same experience that you had with Superbad, except the opposite, where I was the only one in the theater, 10 o'clock showing on a Tuesday night, laughing hysterically.
Perfect.
Like, it was perfect.
Sometimes, what more could you need, honestly? Awesome. So actually, I'm going to take a quick break here. OJ, this is not a bit, actually. I am going to put our show's teaser trailer on. I'm just going to run to the restroom real quick.
Okay.
But folks, stay tuned here. If you haven't seen our show, check this out. This is what we're about.
It's Everything Now, an interactive comedy show on Twitch where you, the viewers, are in control, featuring special guests from all over the Twitch community and the Los Angeles comedy scene. Enter a variety of wild scenarios with colorful characters and help steer the story in whatever direction you want. You can vote in polls to pick dialogue or make choices. You can pay to play sound effects that have in-show ramifications.
Road ends in 100 feet.
What the fuck?
Submit images over Twitter and Discord for us to use. Or just hop in the chat and suggest what you think we should do. It's your show too, friend. Every episode is its own sandbox to play in. There's never a dull moment. Hop on in and experience everything now.
I'm back. Whew.
Hello.
Hi. Pardon me on that one. Let's get to our next. Oh, Gen Junkie, thank you so much for the subscription. This is 2 months. Thank you so much, friend. You're the best. We're so glad we found each other. We should talk about collaborating sometime soon. We're really huge fans of yours. We talk about you a lot. Hi, friends. Jones. Welcome back, everybody. Thought Booksmart got way too much love for being such a blatant ripoff, but moving on. Wow! Hottest take before we moved on from Superbad. You know what? That's fair. I got to form my own opinion. I love those girls. I love Beanie Feldstein and I love Caitlin Dever. I saw her in I almost said 12 Years a Slave. Short term 12. You know.
Slightly different movie.
A little bit different. Wow, Steve McQueen's Short Term 12. I would watch the fuck out of that. Also, I was just reminded, I don't know why I didn't think of this movie when thinking about movies in the high school genre, but I really love Lady Bird. Moving on. Our next film is probably the classic of this decade. It persists even more than Superbad because it's a little more universal and not, I guess, like being a PG-13 release kind of allows itself to be understood and appreciated by everybody. But it is 2004's Mean Girls, written by and starring Tina Fey, Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Seyfried, Lindsay Kaplan, ultimate comedy crush. Jesus Christ. Who else is in this movie? God, Rachel McAdams, that was her name. Fucking Tim Meadows, right? As the principal?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, so good. I was reading trivia on this movie. Apparently he broke his arm before production, and they're like, we'll just write in that he has carpal tunnel. Which, thank God, because you do not want to drop Tim Meadows from your project. He is the funniest. I remember seeing this movie in theaters with my parents, and it was just like kind of a rollicking, perfect time at the movies, you know, like the perfect PG-13 movie that's like just on the verge of being risque for everybody, but also not going hard enough that's alienating. Like it is kind of like Tina Fey might have concocted the perfect teen movie, at least for the decade, as far as I can remember. I also learned that fucking James Franco was the original consideration for the love interest in this movie, and that made me second guess like my timeline of life, because I was like, how the fuck old was he? I guess fucking Freaks and Geeks was not only a couple of years ago away at this point, and same with Spider-Man. So I guess he was still playing high schoolers at that time, which is fucked up.
He was playing way cooler high schools than who he was playing in Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah, Freaks and Geeks, he was like dirtbag, but in like a kind of charming way a little bit. Mitch Anderson, just want to quickly shout out here. We as people should always be talking about Lizzie Kaplan and Party Down. Absolutely. The last episode of that show is heartbreaking, and she's the best part of it. Do you think when we develop general artificial intelligence that can think like people, that it will create better movies, indirect better movies than people do? I mean, that's an interesting question that I feel like we can talk about another time. But boy, I would love to see the product regardless of how good it is, you know? There's going to be an insincerity because it is, you know, computer-based, even though it is based in it's studying human fallacy, which is what all art is at this point, I guess. But fascinating question. Well, I'd love to talk about that at some point. There was a short film that was written by an AI starring Thomas Middleditch. I don't remember it that well, and it also made no sense, but it was fascinating.
Yeah.
But, anyway, back to Mean Girls, the anthropological high school comedy starring Lindsay Lohan just before things got too batshit for her. It was kind of the perfect time in pop culture. Her dad was the janitor from Scrubs. What more could you want?
a perfect time for I feel like that was like the cusp of I guess the new Disney Channel wave. I feel like we had our JTs, we had our Christinas, we had our Britneys
and Ryans.
And we had a little bit of a chasm, and then you know, you get your Lindsay Lohans, you get your God, who was in that class? Because it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm thinking also of like Amanda Bynes and Frankie Muniz, but they were not necessarily Disney. Shia LaBeouf was coming out at this time as well. He was kind of like the lead boy of that, you know, tribe. And fuck, what a journey he's gone through. Same with Lindsay, dude. I mean, like those two were run through the fucking ringer.
Where's her honey boy?
Where the fuck is Lindsay Lohan's honey boy? I know. I mean, she's just done such batshit insane things. Unfortunately, you Google what she's been up to in the past couple of years, and it really is unfortunate. But it's also like, you know, it brings up it's a culture thing, you know. Like same thing with Britney Spears, where it's like, fuck, man, we really like made shit too crazy for celebrities. But also, it was a heinous relationship between corporations and MTV on their audience and stuff. It's a whole mess. No one comes out looking good, I think, from that relationship of celebrity to audience. I don't know. Yeah. It's very bizarre. But this movie kind of perfect for what it is and it was trying to be. Like amazing characters, really great. I read that Tina Fey had backstories written for every single character in the movie, which meant that like the actors would ask her questions and she would like be able to answer it right away. So I can sense that in the film.
Yeah.
Like of just like how full it is, you know, like it's lived in, kind of like Superbad.
Yeah. Well, I think there's an element of all high school movies where it's just like you get to create this kind of palace intrigue, and it's all about like, you know, like you said earlier, it's all about the political nature of like navigating an insanely social but also cartoonishly, like the work we're doing has no bearing on our future. we, for the most part, none of the stuff that we're learning will be implemented in any time in our lives besides now. So it's almost like a sociological experience, and it I think it's back to back with Superbad. It's just like, oh yeah, and like not only are genders socialized different, but like the value system is just like irrefutable in terms of like, there was never a time I felt like in Superbad where like this is getting bad. Like we're seeing a betrayal on a level that is uncomfortable.
Sure, yeah, it is very interpersonal. It is kind of it feels kind of internal, and I don't know, but I think I get what you're saying, which is that like I like what you said about value sets as well. I mean, like that Superbad's about two dudes trying to have sex. I mean, but also the fact that, you know, like deep down, like their love for each other is what's at stake, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to do too many things on Superbad because we already moved on from it, but in the commentary they said that a critic said that they should have gone the full Y tu mamá también, which I kind of might agree with, honestly, in hindsight. It would have been kind of crazy. But anyway.
Don't have a gay male sex scene, you cowards.
I mean, fucking, it still has to happen. It's crazy that it still has to happen, you know? Like, I mean, like, the level of which we are, like, blossoming with our, you know, understanding of non-binary gender and sexuality and stuff is still pathetically, like, minimal, you know? Like, it's, like, a lot of it's for show. Because a lot of movies being released these days are pretty insincere, you know? Like, I don't know, we probably got, like, really lucky with the creators that were being pushed at this time, like Tina Fey and the Apatow team. But, like, you know, there's a sincerity and, like, a humanity to them, you know? Like, this is as much a satire as 30 Rock is. It's, like, a deep understanding of its subject, you know? And, like, it plays very, I don't know, like a pinpointed way. But, yeah, it's a fascinating way of dissecting high school. And the life that you live during it. And yeah, like the plot of this movie is pretty wild. It is conspiracy-like to a certain degree. Like it almost has more in common with Brick than it does Superbad in a weird way. With the lengths at which that some terrible people who are, you know, privileged will go for their own status and sanity and happiness, and for that of their own.
Yeah, it was like a Americanized version of the Vengeance trilogy, where you're just like, please stop. If you guys all just walked away right now, you wouldn't have to deal with
Put down the knives and the batons and the guns, and you'll be much happier for it. Wow. Park Chan-wook's Mean Girls.
Oh, man.
That tracking shot was fucked up.
Well, there's certain I think you kind of see it in, like, what is that movie, Carrie, or just any movie like that. They usually take it to, like, a step too far in terms of, like, basically hazing. Like The Craft is like that. I'm sure there's other movies in the 90s where it's just like part of the thrill is how mean, like, these girls, they're so bad. But it's like, in this movie, it's like, yeah, they're so bad, but they're also kind of nuanced in a way, and there's not like, it's Queen Bean in mythology, but not in the makeup of the show. Like, not everybody's turning against this one protagonist for the sake of the rousing revenge at the end.
Yeah, that's a very interesting way to put it. Yeah, I mean, Tina Fey has become such a very fascinating monster, but but yeah, there's a consideration for her characters, and like, just the, like you said, there's a nuance to the arcs in this movie, and like the motivations behind a lot of it, because the book it's based on is a non-fictional guide for parents about their kids going to high school. So it's like literally so directly about these specifics about how you socialize and integrate with other people, what it means to fit in, and what it means to like do stuff to fit in. It might have a lot in common with like Goodfellas, honestly, as far as like, you know, like joining a gang. Basically, that's what this movie basically is. It's about gangs. Like, it's a lot. That's a persistent thing with high school movies. To like, Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, the main character of that movie is like navigates the cliques of high school as if they were gangs, and likes to be in the middle of them or whatever. Like, it's just a thing that's always going to be, I suppose, whenever we're dealing with this particular subject and time of life. It's such a nightmare. I did not hang out with theater kids. I was in marching band, and then eventually the second half of high school, I was in I guess a film circle. I was part of the TV club, and so through that I found other people who liked movies. I did improv. So I was kind of like slowly weaving my way toward what my college would essentially be. But yeah, like, you know, I didn't really pine to be a part of anything bigger than those groups. But, you know, when you belong to a group, it does have this weird feeling. And I think it's also a matter of media influencing life as well. You know, it's like the shit that we watch kind of like speaks to and probably speaks for a lot of our, you know, our thoughts and processes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about the joke density? Because I think this is like the first time we get to see her just Tina Fey just empty the clip and just kind of like, this is going to be my style for the next like 10 years. It's just
an
like
incredible way of putting it. Yeah, because when Tina Fey gets to make one like a comedy, I even liked a good chunk of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and discovering 30 Rock again in college was like, oh my god, I didn't realize how hard in the paint she was going. Like, it was like there's episodes that are nonstop jokes in 30 Rock. Like, I was like so surprised that I'd watch an episode and be like, there's barely plot in this episode. It is just gag, 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 gag.
Yeah.
Lemon Dickey, I was in marching band. I played the drums. Yes, I was playing tenors actually. Bass, drum set in pit, tenors, and then jazz band. Anyway, but yeah, this movie, I think part of its winning charm is that it's so fucking funny. Like, all the jokes win, you know, like it is just like kind of irrefutable in how it all works and how it connects to the drama of the movie as well. Like, by the time that she's falling out of favor with all of her friends in the movie and stuff, it ties to the dramatic stakes very perfectly. It's a very fine-tuned comedy. Who the fuck directed this thing? I don't even think it's anyone really major, but like,
I don't know. They
did just a perfect enough job of like making it work. But yeah, I don't know. This thing really just does persist. I can watch it really anytime and I'll still have a good time.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Mean Girls before we move on to our next couple of movies here?
Jeez. I guess I would have to say that in line with Superbad, we keep bringing it up, but just like, I don't know if they knew that the memes were coming, or they knew that like we would be doing reaction shots of she doesn't go here or get in loser or any of this stuff. But like, that's just as impressive as some of the more high concept jokes, is that like a quotable movie is becoming rarer and rare as a commodity, and it's very quotable.
It's it feels like magic in a weird way, because it does have to go through so many people and through so many systems for a script to maintain its quality as a written piece of art. So some people wouldn't even consider a script a piece of art in a way, but like, it is wild that written jokes being translated to screen in a way that is almost uninteractive, other than the fact of memification, you know, like pop culture persisting and people continuing jokes because they were so funny in the first place. Because otherwise, I think that's the panic on a lot of studio heads' minds, is that, like, you know, things might not be fresh, or like it won't feel as fresh as it could be, you know, but like, to make something that, as written and made, is so consistently funny for what it is in a capsule and in a vacuum, I guess, is such a risk that it's pathetic that we lost it, and like that people can't even like make written comedies anymore. You have to like watch a prestige drama that has a lot of funny stuff in it to consider, like, you know, the funniest movies that you've seen this year. Like fucking people saying like Phantom Thread's a comedy, which I think Paul Thomas Anderson's a very funny director and his movies are very funny. But like, the fact that that's like the funniest shit you can find in the theater this side of 2015 is kind of pathetic. Like, it's like really sad. And like, any comedy, I brought this up in Superbad, but like, yeah, a lot of comedies just don't have the backbone to actually craft something from the get-go. They like try and, not to, you know, a whole other conversation is improv in film. I wrote papers on this shit in college because I love mumblecore movies. And improv, I think, has its place and it has its own, like, you know, certain charm and power to it. But when you like hinge everything on like, we'll find a joke on the day of, and just like, you know, like the loosest shit possible gets through because it's all they got on set that day, it's like, it's just, you know, preparation, you know, has its worth. and I miss it dearly.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely harder.
Oh my god, so much harder. Yeah, it's, again, to make a movie is so fucking hard, undeniably so. Just so much stuff has to go into it. But yeah, I don't know. Last funny thing, American Vandal, absolutely very funny. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, also very tightly. That's a show that is hinging on comedic directing and understanding of its genre, the things that it's parodying, the characters in it, and stuff like that. I would agree with that. I mean, just to finish this conversation, things that I'm watching that are funny now. How To with John Wilson's very funny. I watched Stack Let's Flats recently, a British comedy that's very, very, very funny. So it's possible. Funny comedies are still possible, but Jesus Christ, no one's putting in the effort anymore. It seems like. Anyway, moving on. This movie, I was so stoked that you picked this one. It is such a particular movie, but I think it plays to exactly why we vibe on certain things. The same way we discovered we both like comedy commentaries from the 2000s. But fucking Derek Comedy's Mystery Team.
Oh my god.
Like, goddamn. Like,
oh,
what?
Shit.
Yeah. I loved it as like a it felt like a structural thing when like a sketch team would make a movie, and usually it wasn't good. I would say up until Wet Hot American Summer, like the fucking Kids in the Hall movie apparently wasn't that great. Like, I'm trying to think of anything else. Like, not all SNL movies were wonderful, really. Some were big hits, some were not. But yeah, Derek Comedy making a feature film, bringing on some very, like some actors before their time would come. Aubrey Plaza, fucking Ellie Kemper.
Ellie Kemper.
Yeah, Bobby Moynihan, Ben Schwartz, who has a thankless role in this movie, but I mean, he's in it nonetheless,
Yeah.
Future character actor Matt Walsh, pre-Veep.
Yeah.
They just
Andy Daly.
I forgot he's in this fucking movie. Yeah, dude, this movie is stacked. Also, no disrespect to the lead three, obviously, and no disrespect especially to DC Pearson and Dominic Dierkes, two of the funniest dudes out there. Who,
John Daly, sorry.
Oh my god, right. Of course, yeah. Another underrated actor. But yeah, let's talk Derek Comedy. Fuck it, man. Those sketches are funny as hell. I remember in high school quoting Jerry, which is the sketch where the kid shits his pants in class 3 times.
I remember, because to put it in, I don't think I could ever impart on people the cultural impact that, YouTube was new, and YouTube wasn't anywhere near where it became much later. Yeah. But just the idea of to think about a world before, what did I watch? Was I on Newgrounds the whole time?
Definitely Newgrounds and E-Bombs World a little more often.
And maybe a little College Humor? A
little College Humor, yeah, because I was just remembering recently that College Humor gave us the fucking Drinking Out of Cups video, among other things. Back then also, I know Something Awful was a thing, but that was mainly, online humor, text-based memes and shit like that.
And then Funny or Die was just coming out.
Funny or Die just came out. The Landlord, everyone's watching The Landlord and shitting their pants because Adam McKay's daughter's so fucking funny as a baby, That one was undeniable. That one feels like fucking Chain entering the station shit, where it's that is internet 2000s comedy at its most primitive and most sincere, because it just hinges on a joke that just unfortunately works, just so well. But yeah, Derek Comedy. It's funny, I was thinking about Smosh recently also, which, me being a younger kid, I also had a Smosh moment. But also those, I would say Derek Comedy and Smosh are 3 years apart in their YouTube fame, essentially.
Yeah.
And and they're so different in terms of, because fucking Smosh is 2 kids in San Diego in their fucking bedrooms, while these guys were all NYU graduates and they were the new class. This is like the Paul Rust class. This is late 2000s UCB comedy before everyone got on SNL or worked on any NBC show, or even became like a maverick of the improv stage. We're like, oh yeah, I would go and see Dominic Dierkes or DC Pearson do improv because like they're masters of that stage or whatever. Yeah, such a so right before shit just hits the fan. But
well, it was also one of the first times that like I had been watching like production diaries and stuff on like Kevin Smith's movies and Judd Apatow movies, but it was the first time I saw like of it literally people my age, like they took all their YouTube money, like that's the story, or that's what it was. They tell you it's like, oh, we took all our YouTube money and we made a movie with it. And it's just like, just the idea of like it also kind of being the crescendo for the endeavor, because Donald goes on to do Community and then becomes one of the biggest artists of the whole time.
Yeah, dude.
In a very weird way. It's just like, this is like, it's both small and big and like precursor, because like I just watched it a couple hours ago. Like they're still figuring it out. Like Donald Glover is not great, and Aubrey Plaza gets a lot better. And they're so young.
They grow, especially. And this movie hinges on Donald Glover in such an intense way, because I admire this movie because it bothers to have a very Superbad-esque emotional arc. Yeah. And I'd say that its minimalism actually works, because when the moment happens, you're like, they have good enough chemistry together that it actually, resonates a little bit. Like the part where they're like, I thought you guys were taking the SATs as a joke. It's just such a funny idea. Like the guy's completely out of the loop.
Yeah.
But otherwise, this is, I was thinking like his performance in this movie is like Jim Carrey esque or something. He's like, he's screaming and wincing and yelping and diving and getting thrown around and like crying. Like this was comedy Glover. Like this was like, I guess the end of it was Community, right? Like and then,
definitely.
Yeah, and then he becomes, he has his separate moment where he becomes something else completely. But like, this movie is a very interesting peek into like the idealism of this era of comedians in a way, because it is also unabashedly a gag-based comedy. Like it's a mystery. It's technically a noir and a crime movie, but like it has costumes, props, really uncomfortable dark humor in a lot of areas. Like Matt Walsh telling John Daly that he wishes he had cancer still. Or like, it's such zany shit. It is out of the book of like, Zucker Abrams Zucker or something like that. It is bananas. It's a cartoon.
But in the same way as those Abrams Zucker movies, like it's fucking filthy at times.
It is
like
crap. I mean, their comedy's filthy, dude. They're like, they were boys. They are boys who are obsessed and fixated on dicks and butts and poop and like the down and dirty, like, what's it called? Adolescent boy absurdity, like that's the shit that was funny to them. But they also are smart enough to like know the nuances of performance comedy. Like there's just like anxieties within characters and anger coming out in characters, or all that stuff, like still plays in addition to all like them reaching into a toilet filled with shit to get a ring, or kissing a hobo who just did heroin and stuff like that. Like it all stacked on top of each other in a pretty ambitious way. I interrupted you. I feel like I apologize.
No, I mean, I completely forgot. It's easy to be like, oh yeah, that's where they're acting like children. Like it's a very common comedy trope of like, oh, these people who are 18 or like 23 are acting like 18-year-olds who are acting like children. But then I didn't remember the strip club scene. Like there's like a lot of nudity in the strip club movie, but like with a level of darkness that doesn't, like there's a lot of nudity in like Airplane or even like 40-year-old version, and that's kind of the point of the movie. But see that these man children, like literally boy children, have to navigate like cocaine dealers who feel like cocaine dealers, and and sex workers that feel like sex workers.
It is kind of, it feels like the gag of the movie, which is pretty, like, props to them for really knowing that and making it. But like the idea that these boys are literally shoved up against the darkness of adulthood and of crime, of genuine crime. Like, they are like, it is so unfunny how dark the things in this movie can be, which is why it's funny, because it's like, oh yeah, we're like very happy-go-lucky and like, I was like the quiz boy wonder and all this stuff, and then they come across just very heinous, uncomfortable shit. And it works like as the game of the movie. They milk it pretty damn hard and make it very, very like successful in my opinion. And also thanks to 3 central performances, they just know how to have that chemistry. They work. Derek comedy works.
It's also rare that like there's no the tens. There's no like double dipping a little bit too soon. Yeah. On the property, like it's the videos on YouTube, and maybe like
a couple appearances in Community, like like a lot of just like, hey, shouts out to Derek Comedy because we got Donald Glover as our like lead guy, kind of.
Well, I don't know how deep you went into the kind of like what was going on with that group and at that time, but it was just like. To like the I remember the premiere of like the Bonfire video, or I remember like all the mixtapes and things like that, and it felt like, oh wow, Donald's really talented, like he's he's definitely the front man of the group. But just to like slowly see that like shown again and again and again, it was impressive that it didn't like completely say to me that I shouldn't do comedy if I have to be as good as Donald Glover at making music and doing stand-up and doing sketch and writing on 30 Rock and being on Community, like I should just stop right now.
I was just talking to a friend about this before the show, about how Donald Glover's hype train and praise around him was kind of falsely inspiring to a lot of our generation as well.
It felt accessible.
Exactly, right? Because he was a kid. Like, he was like, oh my god, that guy's like my age. Like, he's joking about shit that I think about and stuff like that. Like, he is... And he was just so heralded in and knew how to handle it. None of it ever got to his head to the degree that he wouldn't be able to handle his own career and bolster it into something that he wanted it to be, Like, the fact that he's gotten to the point where he has Atlanta and his music career is... I can't think of another comedy star that's been able to build their own, like... Not empire, but their own, like, persona more so than this guy,
Yeah. Like, which is fun. It's funny because, like Kanye's a way better musician than Donald Glover. I'll say that.
Pretty hard.
But then, like...
Deny,
but then like Kanye will do like a fake Curb pilot that doesn't go anywhere. So you're just like,
I watch that thing so bad. Matt Besser gave Kanye personal UCB lessons. I want to watch that thing so bad.
So you're just like, all right. So like we found the limit to his ability to express himself in an art form. And then similarly, like Donald was never as good at stand up as like Eddie Murphy. But then like Eddie Murphy, he has some bangers in his time, but he never made like a concept album that changed like the course of pop music for a number of a generation. So it's truly remarkable, especially when like if you watch this movie, if you watch Mystery Team, you get a real sense of not comedy where it was going, but like especially like the improv scene at the time, because it's so much lamp shading and it's so much just like mugging and so much like there's so many games in the movie, not just bits and not just set pieces, but like games. Crazy.
It is like totally a movie made from this class of comedians. Like they all were learning the same shit because they were all, it's like it's kind of like a frat in a way, but in much more open terms, obviously. And they were all very forward thinking. You didn't see this kind of mindset in a filmmaking space really until a couple of years later. Even if you do get something this successfully based in, you know, this comedic language. You know, it was very simultaneously ahead of its time, very charmingly before its time, and just kind of a vision of the future in a way. And yeah, dude, like, it's so crazy that Donald Glover managed to do so much.
Fuck
with
this
his
bread.
music.
There's so many things that
Who
like
fucks bread? Yeah, right. Just like that style of humor, it like predates like Conor O'Malley, even. You know, like it is so. Yeah, it is indicative of the high spots of late 2000s, early 2010s comedy. When everyone's listening to Comedy Bang Bang, everyone's watching NBC on Thursday nights, everyone's thinking about IFC. I know I'm like starting to like really whittle down the type of person that I'm thinking about, but like, you know, it was just like the internet landscape and how it gave comedy a home at the time when everyone suddenly was online as opposed to, I don't know, just like in their own bubbles and stuff. It was everything was kind of like coalescing, and you're seeing all these voices like collide. Tim and Eric's becoming mainstream. You know, UCB people are getting the jobs that are putting them in charge of comedy and stuff. It was a hopeful time. And then come 2015, everyone can see it literally crumbling in front of them, and it became very disheartening in a weird way. And then it just kind of continues to do that.
Yeah, it's thanks Mark Zuckerberg for ruining comedy.
For ruining everything in a way.
Yeah.
Just truly
but
impressive.
most importantly, comedy.
Most importantly, ruining this great thing that we had going, where it was like a clear pipeline. You know, you go through the school, then you're going to be a second lead on an NBC sitcom. It was perfect. It worked so perfectly, and you fucked it up for us, Mark.
Motherfucker.
Son of a bitch. Anyway, a couple comments before we go to our last movie. Always on, slightly off, classic. Yeah, the Comedy Bang Bang TV show was very insane. Yeah, Scott Ackerman's a very fascinating person. I didn't even watch the Between Two Ferns movie, but that is also another sign of like how far we've come in the past 10 years and how awkward it is to look at all that stuff again in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did love that Comedy Bang Bang TV show in some instances. It was really like when like Pete Holmes was getting his first talk show and stuff, and everyone was just like, "Yes, it's happening!"
Yeah. Well, we learned the wrong lessons from the late night wars.
Totally. Right.
That we need to push people into these very, very antiquated forms of entertainment because we gotta have it.
Exactly, as opposed to looking to the future. I mean, there's something to be said for like lampooning or even like twisting old things. Like I'd say the Eric Andre show succeeds pretty well because it is making fun of talk shows, a very old thing done in a very new modern way. But yeah, some shit just stays the same, and where people were forced to kind of like keep that shit the same, and it sucked. It was uncomfortable. It didn't work.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, Moonbase 8 is pretty dope as well.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that. I still have a lot of love for Tim Heidecker. I admire him as an artist, kind of similar to Donald Glover, but in a slower, more independent way, where he kind of got to do his own thing and try shit out. But I'm glad to hear that Moonbase 8 is good too. Any last words on Derek Comedy and Mystery Team before we go to our final pick?
No, because I think that movie, and I think Tim and Eric's movie,
right.
What is it, $12 million jacket?
$1 billion movie, I think.
$12 million movie.
$1 billion jacket's really good. I like that.
There's just certain movies that like I want to keep in the chamber for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't mind that people may like it, but I'm glad that there's not like a Mystery Team like midnight movie where you like bring a slingshot and you shoot candy at like all that. These are very small, intimate movies in that they express a very singular comedy vision, and I mean, as you can see, they might collect dust on the shelves, but they're infinitely important in terms of just like like a cultural lexicon, a necronomicon for comedy.
That's an amazing term. And also, you warmed my heart saying that, because like I think about where we're in now, in a world where honestly I don't think we should be making movies or TV or commercials or anything really, but especially, you know, like we shouldn't be endangering the lives of people who, like, you know, are needed to make this stuff happen. But also, and maybe this would actually go against what we're talking about, but like, God, there's such a catalog, you know? There are these tiny ass movies from this decade that are solid, rock solid, because they were made small, intimate, and with focus. You know, like I think about even Matt Walsh's movies. Like his first movie gave us Dylan O'Brien, who became a fucking heartthrob for his generation. High Road was really solid and a good example of an improv comedy, even if it isn't perfect, you know? But yeah, like there's so many little movies from this time that as they were coming out, I was like, I don't think anyone's gonna remember any of this shit, you know? Like this stuff is not gonna make it into, you know, like I go on Letterboxd, like, oh yeah, I fucking remember that movie from 2009. Like, who's talking about, I don't know, like The Living Wake with Jim Gaffigan, or like anything from this era of comedy, and like they were just really good for their time, and probably are better for it that they didn't get blown the fuck up, you know, in a way that like maybe redirected everything.
Yeah.
And for the worse, you know, like, and I don't know, the trajectory in which we took this era of comedy's voice and then like squeezed it through a tube for mainstream acceptance. Like, I'd say commercials took a lot from Tim and Eric. I'd say a lot of comedy took the absurdity of this class through Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Derek Comedy, and all this stuff, and then kind of like ended up watering it down. And it became also political, and that kind of ruined it because we lost sight of intent, you know?
Yeah,
that's a whole other conversation. I love that we had Mystery Team to talk about, because there's just so many things to fucking talk about, because it's such a blip on the timeline before everything got really fucking crazy.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Who's talking about Idle Hands? I was thinking about Idle Hands. I still haven't seen it. Shouts out to Devin Sawa, who's still pretty funny on Twitter somehow. Well, of the many celebrities I'm unfollowing on Twitter daily, I always come across Devin Sawa, and I'm like, you get a pass. You're fine. Shouts out to Seth Green. But the last movie you picked of the 5 I asked of you is, I think you brought this up earlier, like the litmus test for people who, you know, like if you like this movie as much as I do, then we're gonna be buddies forever, or like we can talk about genuinely anything, you know. And it had such a late. It was probably 10 years later when this movie got fully appreciated by people, to the degree where they got 2 seasons of a TV show for it. But it's fucking Wet Hot American Summer, David Wayne's, you know, long-lasting cult classic. Like and cult to be sure. Like this movie gained popularity again because people were just so like passing it around, and like you know, memes were like such a big part of like sharing this movie's legacy as well too. And also the actors, like the fact that all these people are in this together before any of them were popular, you know, like it was it was again kind of a forward-looking movie, probably because this class of New York comedians and actors just really were onto something, and it clearly worked for people 5 to 10 years later down the line. Perfect movie to discover in high school, for comedy at least.
Well, perfect in that also there was the Stella shorts at the same time.
Yeah, you want to talk Stella? Where's the shit? I have Michael Ian Black and Michael Showalter signatured. I was too nervous to ask David Wayne because I was volunteering at Sketchfest in 2013, and I was like, I have this in my dorm. I got to go run across the street and get it. But anyway, I have nothing. I have some criticism, but a lot of love for Stella. Go on.
Yeah, but just to, God, it wasn't even in the discovery for me. I feel like it was like kind of like on the low, hanging out with a friend from high school, and had to be like kind of secret because of a gay sex scene might attract a parent or something like that. But I think there's something about it that like it's a cult classic that like ran on Comedy Central. Like it's very rare for something cult to be like categorically good or manipulable into something that's a little bit more mainstream. But when you look at everything that they accomplished in terms of just like it feels genuine. Like it feels like you're watching, even though you can see that these are people in their late 20s. They feel like teenagers.
Yeah.
The setting is correct. The setting is perfect. The period piece of it all. The cast is crazy. The gags are insane. And then if you blow it all the way out, it was almost like it was kind of like, you know how you're not supposed to play like sports video games with like the all-star team, because then it kind of like ruins any other team that you play that's like a normal
it breaks
team.
The game.
Yeah, there's something like I get it. They're all in state. They all went to college together, and they all like gathered great comedic actors over time. But the fact that like huge parts of this movie is just Joe Latrulio and Ken Marino
screaming at each other.
Screaming at each other, and they're like beyond tertiary characters.
Yeah,
is
absolutely
nuts.
Yeah, no, it is so unabashed for like trying to be a little thing for our friends to make. You know, like obviously the state was on TV at this point, before this. And this is probably before all the legal issues were all like, you know, like suing each other because of like ideas and rights and shit. But yeah, it feels like, I mean, the state were an angry group, and they were like, I don't know, when given this like this ability to make a feature film, I don't know, it seems like they're just trying to have as much fun as possible, and they're like just really kind of like in Mystery Team, I guess, or what were you talking about? Like, you know, Mean Girls, when you talk about jokes that are written and choreographed and planned and go through a series of people agreeing to do the joke and stuff like that. This movie hinges on some really stupid, confident humor. And everyone is in on the joke. And, like, you know, it comes with the period, that comes with the attitude of the film, like the tone of it. Like, it is just a series of people all getting the gag. And, yeah, like, it is just such a strong cast throughout. Whoever is on screen at the time is crushing. Like they're giving it their all, even though this is probably a low budget affair that probably wouldn't amount to anything probably in their heads, you know? Like there was a good chance this is just gonna be a huge fluke. Roger Ebert buried this movie probably with his review. It's like so much so that he didn't give them the common courtesy of talking about the film. He wrote a parody song in panning this movie, you know? So like, for a lot of these folks, it seems like it was just like, okay, we have a chance to make a movie. Let's fucking go as hard as possible with like the jokes and stuff. And that pureness still resonates, I guess, in a certain way. Because it's, I think, just gone missing. Also, you know, it stands as an example of something that you kind of wish could come back to the joys of filmmaking. There's even a documentary about the making of this movie on Netflix, but I guess that was also part of them getting a deal to make a TV show and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fascinating on like so many levels in terms of just like, so at this point, like the highest grossing comedies at the times were like Adam Sandler and Jim Carrey and all that.
Yeah.
And
Brothers movies,
Fairly Brothers, and but then you have people who are just outside of the cusp of that, like really, like they came to play. Like Janine Garofalo, like she had a few leading roles that you know I love Mystery Men, and I think she's funny in all the kind of side piece roles that she does. But like, but she's like a revelation in this movie.
Yeah,
and same thing with Thomas Hyde Pierce. Is just like I love him in Frasier. I came to Frasier late, but like he is he's almost too good in
Yeah.
this movie, especially for how little he's in it.
Yeah, it's as if David Wayne gave them the clearest directions possible on what this movie should be. Like
Yeah.
it is they knew exactly what kind of film it was going to be, so those two especially were allowed to really play into that. Like it's like the movie is screaming through them. Like the energy with which that they have, like they're like talking as fast as they can. They're screaming and running through locations and sets. Like the phone scene is just fucking perfect and exactly what I love about the movie. And also on a filmmaking level, just one of my favorite things I've ever seen in a movie. The handheld camera, the Shining-esque tension of them. Like, no, it's like fucking Evil Dead, where they're just destroying a room and screaming at the top of their lungs. But yeah, it is like there is this collective voice or collective scream, I guess, that all the characters get to really bellow out throughout the movie.
Yeah,
and I don't know. It is like it feels like the perfect collective. Everyone really got what they were going for, and even if it isn't everyone's favorite comedy, it is certainly it's triumphant in its own way for being as stupid as it is. You know.
Well, there's something to be really celebrated that parody and pastiches are sometimes dirty words, especially when it's like, oh, there's the wind up and there's the pitch. They made a fun reference to whatever was pop culture at the time.
Yeah.
And then there's some Zucker Abrams movies that are just like those. They also get the benefit of the doubt because they're older. Yeah. Right. But this movie came out the same year as Scary Movie 2, which is insane to think about. And
God damn.
I think it really hits a lot of it's making a lot of references, but narratively or cinematically or with the screenplay, which is just the fact that it all blends together and it feels like the perfect camp movie while also a spoof of all the camp movies, but not feeling like it's purely pandering and here comes the celebrity cameo. It's I don't know how they did it, especially on the budget, especially because it was raining the whole time that they were filming a summer movie. Especially
seemed like a nightmare to make.
Yeah.
In addition to being fun, because they got to make a crazy script, you know. But yeah, it's impressive, especially for an independent movie. This played at Sundance, I think, didn't it?
Probably, yeah.
Probably. I think Brick and this movie played at Sundance. But it has its its references and its touchstones that it's kind of playing toward and harkening back to, but also in it has its Dadaist moments that you just didn't get from comedies, them running out of the truck being like, it's fun to go to town for a couple hours, even if it's only for a couple hours. And then they run to the nearby building and they all stand there with their faces on the wall. It is throwing kids out of vans. There's hysterical violence in the movie too. The sincere gay sex scene, it's all dedication to some very bold ideas that even in something I love the scary movies, but they had their thing they had to do. They had a mission. They had a statement to make. But this one was just kind of almost more of a philosophical statement, I guess. And it's its penchant for absurdity.
Well, I think it's also the perfect, not die yuppie scum, but it's dedicatedly making fun of rich camp kids.
So so Gen X-y and so angry at this movie barely has any of the rich camp kids stuff in it, unlike the TV show, which feels like a continuation of it. But
but just the idea of going to camp feels very middle class, suburban, white in a way that's we get to be cool because we're listening to Peg in the woods and we're smoking and it's fun, but it's just oh, that sounds like heaven. I get to hang out with my friends in the woods unsupervised.
Must be nice.
Wow. Do they have like a payment plan, or how does this work?
Is there a lottery to get in, or?
Yeah. There's certain jokes in it that also, I feel like it kind of presages in a way that, like, because it's the first movie chronically that we're talking about, it pretty much, like, the idea of someone like dating a kid feels very Pin 15 before Pin 15,
for sure.
And then all this like weird, like, we don't know how to show affection because we're guys. Feels very pre Superbad, and just some of the some of the dialogue that like Molly Shannon or Elizabeth Banks says feels like it's very pre, or even like Janine Garofalo says, it feels very pre kind of the teenage Faye joke density vibe, and it's just like even like some of the Foley work is funny.
Yeah,
it's
this
just
movie's the filmmaking is funny, is what gets to me about it too. Yeah, like the clay pot crashing gag constantly, like, it cannot be like, it is like a mindset that would be like appreciated much later, but also like, you know, honed in on by everyone else who's working at this time from this age range, essentially, you know, like on their way up toward being the key creatives in every mainstream comedy that you can watch, you know?
Yeah,
it's impressive. And I think that's why it's like, I don't know, it's not like everyone watches this movie because of what it signaled, but I mean, like, it just, the shit was funny, and like, I think it ended up influencing a lot of people. Probably not in the best ways. I don't think anyone's aped this kind of comedy absurdity too well. At least, I don't know. I mean, like, I haven't seen 10/15 yet. I love what it's going for. I love the idea behind it very, very much. I want to check it out. But like, I can't think of any other show. Like, Angie Tribeca was the last like Zucker riff that I can think of to come out. Other than like they came together. But I don't know. It was just so unlike any other comedy of its time, and it proved to be inspiring for a lot of folks. And God damn it, those times you'd watch it with your friends, and just like the second kid gets thrown out of the van, and you just get to enjoy these stupid jokes brought to life in such like dedicated ways. Like, it's so impressive. Christopher Maloney's in this fucking thing. God damn it, it's so good.
I forgot that
Maloney's in this thing.
Yeah, which is just the idea of, all right, we're gonna take people who you don't know as that can do this, and they're gonna do it on a way that like they're iconic. Yeah,
right. Like, how do you even know? You don't know, I think, is the thing. But you just kind of like, you get an actor and you watch him do his thing or their thing, and it's just, it feels unique because, you know, they're not trying to do something that feels like in step with everything else. And I think that's what anyone's really searching for when you like try and be a creative, you know, ideally, you know, like, I don't know, you seek out stuff that it just feels so real and raw, and this was a whole band sticking together and saying the same joke, you know, like all in concert, harmonizing. It's such a good time capsule, you know. Like, I haven't seen this movie in like probably 4 or 5 years, but I would watch it several times within a month at the time when I first started watching it, you know. Like, it was just that fucking fresh and so like a thing that I wanted to see more of.
Yeah.
And just too fucking weird for some people. So it did kind of create that, like, you know, cultural line in a way that, like, you kind of found your friends and your like-minded individuals, where it's like, if you find, you know, like, child murder and a talking can of vegetables and all this shit funny, then, like, clearly, you know, like, there's something in the air for some people. And it was worth celebrating.
Yeah. I think in a perfect way, all these movies, like growing up is hard, and we're all growing up, and hopefully we're all changing, and we're all evolving in some way. But it's fun to imagine a world where you don't have a job, and you don't have bills, and you have concerns about the future, but they seem so far away, or they seem fun, like college. Wow, what a cool concept! I get to hang out with other horny people my age. That's great. And then those things change, and things change for the better, and sometimes things change for just less rad. Yeah, but every high school, it's just life. But every high school movie is just like, holy shit, this is. Look at this! Look at how they're trying to deal, get their lives together.
The protagonists of these movies that we talk about are, probably with the exception of Wet Hot American Summer, are burdened with the anxieties of kids, but filtered through that of adults who have gone through it. The wisdom of knowing that things are going to change. Your friends are not going to be your friends forever, unfortunately. People are going to fuck up, and you're going to deal with really hard shit, and you're going to, lose luster of life because you have to focus on other stuff to stay alive. It's just an unbearable truth. And I think what makes this pick, I know, like you said, it was kind of a cheat, Wet Hot American Summer, but I think there's something very boundless about it. And it's ideas, because it's about kids. It's about kids and thinking this camp year, this week we have together. I gotta tell the girl that I love her, or else it'll never happen. Yeah. It's like you got deadlines. You kind of gotta live the life that you have before it's gone, before it's taken away from you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I would say Coop learns the greatest lesson of any movie about teenage life. Yeah. In that it's lampshading in a way, but just to have this great experience with someone that you like and that you care about, and then they're saying yeah, but I'm gonna date the hot one. This was fun. It says nothing about our relationship, but I'm young and I want to have sex with this hot guy. Yeah. Is that level of emotional honesty is granted played for laughs, but it's rare in any of the movies that we talked about today, just because they have to have a happy ending in some sense of fashion, even if it's some type of change in the relationship. But this one was very pure. No, sorry.
There's it's like Linklater or something at the end, when the movie just kind of goes to sleep at the end, when everyone goes away, the time is over. Coop learns the hard lesson, which is that things are not going to go your way, and that's just kind of how it is. Yeah, for a comedy that is so angry in its satire, I would say, at least tonally, in my opinion. It is such a mature choice to make, even if it does feel like it might be aping something from the 70s, like a Linklater movie would, But it's true. All these other movies, no offense to them, but I mean, maybe a Brick. I like the willingness to kind of tell the harsh truth as opposed to the good truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Wet Hot American Summer. It's it's like visiting an old friend and reminiscing. And it's like a friend that thousands of people had. And you're all remember the time that movie did that thing? Yeah. It's what a weird thought. God, man. All right, I'm just gonna, before we end this show, I'm gonna burn through some of the other movies I had on this playlist here. We had Breakfast Club, as well as Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I never took to Ferris Bueller until about late college, but when I watched it in high school, I was kind of I don't know. The kid seems like he's cool. I don't think that's interesting to me. Yeah. I don't care. I'm sad. I'm more like the Cameron guy, Yeah.
Why everybody got the memo to dance with this asshole?
Yeah, right. It's sorry that I'm not as cool or happy as Ferris Bueller. There's hard shit in life. I'm sad, motherfucker.
If I'm home alone, it's called Tuesday, and I'm very hungry. It's a bad time.
This is all I got, you know? Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I think Bill Haverchuck. You know, I'm thinking of like other things in high school, like Freaks and Geeks. I think a lot of the kids who you and I can relate to were like Bill Haverchuck. You go home, make a grilled cheese sandwich, and you laugh as hard as you can at the thing that made you laugh back then, because that was the one thing that brought you joy, because everything else brought you anxiety.
Yeah, you get home, your sanctuary is your solitude, and then you just hate on your mom's new boyfriend. You just hate on him.
On this fucking Biff Tannen ass boyfriend. You told me about this movie as well. I have it on DVD, haven't touched it, but Thumbsucker from Mike Mills.
God.
Another, oh my god, this is a Mike Mills movie for sure. That's all I needed to see for it to be a Mike Mills movie. A little French ass, choices.
Yeah. So mid 2000s. You got your polyphonic spree.
Oh.
You got your Prince of the Indie film, Lou Taylor Pucci. You got Keanu Reeves doing a character that's not any other character that he's played before.
Appreciate
like
that.
a sincere mentor figure.
Yeah.
That's appreciated. And you just got this. You saw it in some Miranda July movies too, where it's just like the ephemeralness of suburbia. Like it's just like.
Yeah, so it verges on like fucking Blue Velvet, you know?
Yeah.
And then it turns into something a little more, you know, like performance arty. Like Me, You, and Everyone We Know. Just like that kind of like absurdist, like, everything's on fire, but everyone's kind of like fake, like looking into the sky smiling kind of shit.
It feels like an installation for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like an art piece or something. So D'Onofrio and Vaughn are in this movie. You got the two Vinces.
Yeah,
that's sick as shit. Good job, Mike.
Yeah,
I gotta watch this movie. I fell on the when this came out, 2005. Yeah, around the time I probably should have been watching this movie, I was watching like The Squid and the Whale, and this movie. I was gonna like talk about 5 movies of my own here. I'll just kind of rattle them off real quickly. Also, Sunbro68, that's very nice of you. I've done a couple podcasts. I technically have a podcast that I can't get out because I'm not good at editing podcasts, but it's about independent dramedies, like Sundance Fair, basically. But someday, I don't know. I was thinking about doing it as a Twitch stream with my co-host. Maybe that'd be easier for me to produce. But my movies that I was going to pick for this that I liked in high school and watched in high school and were about high school in a way were where are they? World's Greatest Dad.
God.
Bobcat Goldthwait. Yeah, dude. I know. Yeah. A little heavy.
Oh God, because I'm from San Francisco. School in San Francisco. Robert Williams means so much to that city. It's crazy. And just for all the elements of that movie and then subsequent elements of his life is just like, ooh.
It's like it's gruelingly depressing. Like,
it's like Dear Zachary, but fiction, which makes it worse somehow.
Oh, wow, what a comparison. Wow, World's Greatest Dad is like the Dear Zachary for Robin Williams' life. It's true because, like, you feel in that movie, Bobcat Goldthwait's so appreciative of Robin Williams. It's like he found his Robert De Niro to his Scorsese. You know, it's like anything he throws at him, like he's handling the drama and the comedy so well. And I have a lot of love for that movie, and it's weird heart and everything. Rushmore as well. I went to a Catholic school, and I also am caught up in extracurriculars as opposed to academics or taking my life seriously like Max Fisher. I always appreciated that about him. The other movies I picked, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, again, kind of a cheat like Wet Hot American Summer, but it was about being a young person and having some goddamn self-respect for yourself as you navigate friendships and relationships and earnestness that you owe to other people, you know?
Yeah.
And then a movie I watched as a kid but also loved into high school and also posted, Orange County. I love that movie's style. I think Jake Kasdan had like a fun MTV style to his work, and also it was fucking real about like the fucking weird McMansions and the burnout older brothers and the terrible things that rich people wanted for their kin. You know, it was just like so ridiculous. But yeah, I love that movie. And then another one I had on here. What else? Go through this list. You got Can't Hardly Wait. Watched that for the first time recently. Very funny. Donald Faison and Breckenmeyer rule. Honestly, what a comedy duo that I feel like I would have watched do stage shit also. They were so fucking funny together.
Yeah.
I also
Can't
watched
Hardly Wait, which is a long line of rich people just can't let incest go. They just can't. They're constantly trying to kiss their cousins.
9/11 hasn't happened yet, and the only thing on their minds is, oh my god, my cousin's hot. Oh no. Jesus Christ. Heathers, also a classic. Probably we'll talk about at some point in the future when it comes to like 80s, 90s high school movies.
Yeah.
Clueless, we talked about a little bit here, but that was also kind of like, you know, we're talking about movies that were in the wake of Clueless that took its, you know, its power and kind of turned it against it in a way.
Yeah.
A movie that we kind of skirted around, Napoleon Dynamite. A cultural landmark that is divisive as fuck, that's for sure.
It certainly. It's in one of those time capture moments that, like, if we put it in the ground and digged it up 50 years later, and my grandchild's like, "What's this?" I'm just like, "You don't have to watch it.
This one,
it's good, but
like
you don't."
Like, it's good, but it's also, yeah, dude. What a weird like. That movie was so fucking popular with kids, and it basically is like if Wes Anderson and John Waters had sex. And
people lost their minds for that movie.
They did. Hot Topic merch, you know? Vote for Pedro. People still making Vote for Pedro jokes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But it's, yeah.
Scream, 10 Things I Hate About You, Easy A, Scream 4, which I watched recently and was very impressed by. Best thing Emma Roberts ever did. A movie I liked in college, weirdly enough, is Project X, that weird found footage party movie.
Never watched it.
It's like a big set piece. I just like kind of appreciate that a movie would go that far with the budget and make something that ridiculous. I don't know. I was impressed by it, weirdly enough. Miles Teller's in it by himself, as himself, which is weird. I love Unfriended. Yeah, a lot of like I was talking about like a lot of modern movies, I guess here. Columbus with Haley Richardson, queen of her generation. Donnie Darko, The Spectacular Now, The Squid and the Whale, Dazed and Confused, Margaret, Election, The Virgin Suicides, The Bling Ring, Twilight. We could have done a whole thing on Twilight maybe, maybe some point in the future. Yeah, man, high school movies. I don't know. It's a broad topic, but the ones that we discussed, I think, were honing in on a very special point in time. And showed how they were kind of looking into the future, had some things right, but couldn't have willed it into existence soon enough. And the bastardized version that came in at the end was kind of, it was like a mixture of like, that's what we wanted, and also, oh no.
Well, it was also a pivotal time for the nerds to win, quote unquote.
Which was an unfortunate W that we should not have.
It's like a finals nobody wants to watch. It's like the Detroit versus the Spurs. It's just like I guess I have to root for one of these people. But I think one of the more interesting thing about that whole time period, especially the rise of Tina Fey and Judd Apatow, is you know, like on the opposite end, you had your Bring It Ons. You had your Beverly Hills 90210. You had you had very Dawson's Creek. You had very pretty people playing.
Yeah, the OC, man.
Yeah. Welcome to the OC, bitch.
Yeah, I mean, undeniable. Like that's masterwork. Oh, I love the OC. I watched that for the first time this year, and I was just like gobbling it up. It got bad as it went on, but it was still it was still good as hell. Yeah, man, pop cinema was still pretty fun, especially Bring It On is a great example, I think. Yeah, it was, it wasn't all going to be for the alt comedy nerds to take, there was, it's a broad field. But,
It was a diversity that I appreciate.
yeah, definitely. Diversity of philosophies, of inspirations, and voices, too,
Yeah.
We salute Donald Glover for making it as far as he did. We're shocked and also very impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't disappoint us.
Please.
Don't please, for the sake of everything that's holy, Donald Glover, please do not say that slavery was a choice.
Oh my God.
And please don't live out your welcome on a season of television just to make yourself a martyr. I would hate for you to do that.
Jesus Christ, yeah, right. Yeah. Apropos of nothing, happy 15th birthday to my beautiful dark twisted fantasy. Anyway. Cool. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. I didn't even do the bit I told you about. Sorry, I just got so caught up in discussion. I think this was even more fun than doing that.
We love movies.
We just love movies, God damn it! And I'm gonna do the show more often. I'd love for you to come back and we can talk about more stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool, man. Please shout out your anything you want to plug. Super Trash Bros, Courting Comedy, your Twitter, all that stuff.
Sure. We I mean, the main thing is Super Trash Bros. There's the hi in
Hey,
the
friend.
chat. Yeah. And yeah, like in a couple weeks on the 5th of December, we're doing a charity stream where we're playing Super Trash Bros. And the people playing, if they get a certain amount of kills during like a 6-hour stream, they have people doing pledges for that amount. So see some people raise some money for specifically kind of like Black Votes Matter in Georgia, trying to get some funds to people who are signing people up for the runoffs in January. So yeah. Follow us there and follow us on social so that you can know when that's live, because throw $5 at us, you get to choose the stage, or $10 you get to choose the character.
That's fun.
Yeah,
that's really cool, man. I'm glad you guys are doing stuff like that. That's really amazing. Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. I had such a good time talking with you.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, cool. And thanks for watching, folks, whoever's still out there. Let me just go ahead and check this stream manager. Thanks to Mitch F. Anderson, Sunbro68, Kevin MTM, all of our locals and friends who were hanging out with us the whole time. We're going to go ahead and rate somebody now. Let's see who the F is on. I think Wham City's Ben O'Brien was on. He's starting out on Twitch. I'm a fan of theirs. So I might throw it their way for still streaming. Love this jazz music. Cool. Tune in next Monday for, I don't know if I'm doing this or if I'm going to try playing more Fuser or I'm going to do something else. But yeah, stay tuned. On Wednesday, we'll be doing something, Everything Now related. Who knows? And thanks again. We're going to rate Ben F. Wow. Tired. But this is more fun than doing the Photoshop show because the Photoshop show is so goddamn stressful.
What was so stressful about it?
It was just that, like, having to, like, focus on making a piece of art in addition to talking with a guest and also talking to the chat was just really difficult. I want to try it again because I was going to do it as an improv thing where I am like, it's like if it's Comedy Bang Bang, I'm Scott Aukerman, and then all the guests are, characters that are coming in and asking for ridiculous shit. But it ended up being more of an interview show where it was like, comedians playing themselves, and we talk about things we had in common, things we liked about comedy and that stuff. And even then, it was still just kind of a hard thing to juggle. But I'll return to it sometime. I'll give it a season 2, perhaps.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much, folks. Thanks, OJ. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right. I'm going to stop the stream.